looking forward to that. So right now, without further ado, guys are killing it. John McMullen will be over at NovaCare. I believe it's tomorrow for the last mini camp. Without further ado, we bring our boy Big Z, Zander Krause, in. Hopefully you had a great weekend. How you doing, brother?
What's up, Big Sills? How you doing, brother?
All good, man. So what do you make of Alexander? Potentially being a fit for the Philadelphia Eagles.
It's another situation, one of many, where I listen to Big Sills and it's the polar opposite of what Johnny Mac has to say. And then I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place between my two uncles, Uncle Sills and Uncle John. Sileo is typically the happier uncle. Uncle John is the curmudgeon uncle. But Uncle Sileo likes to mess with us. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Look, I do think you're right. Like, Slay completely switched. Now, here's the thing, though. Slay was willing to do it.
Yes.
Right? Like, not every corner is going to have the mentality or the mindset to switch. It's a pride thing. You know how it is. I mean, look.
Jalen Ramsey cut it.
Yeah, anybody in their life that knows a successful man. I mean, it could be in anything. All right. They're prideful people. That's part of, the recipe for the success. They don't want to believe that they can't do something. So I don't know if he would have that mindset. If he did have that too, or if he did have that mindset, maybe it would be a good fit because he is a good player. He's young, but still 7 games in 2 years, brother. I mean, that's a low hit rate. And then if you factor in the money, what are you going to pay him? What do you also feel about the corners who are in the room? If Vic is looking and behind closed doors right now, Vic is like, boy, Howie, we're really hoping that Keely Ringo does something. Then maybe they make the shot. But if Vic is like Howie, I feel good about Keely Ringo. They're not going to make the move.
How about this? The DB coach was in Green Bay with him.
Was he?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Okay.
That's interesting. He does seem like a little bit of a head case, doesn't he, Alexander? Or am I thinking of the wrong dude?
No. But look, safety,
not a head case, but just a little bit out there.
Corners and receivers are basically cut out of the same room.
He's your prototypical corner.
Yeah. So I say this to you, and don't you agree? Instead of playing man or instead of playing press, doesn't that extend your career? If you're playing in a zone where you're 10 yards off the ball, you're more limited on lesser contact in that system. I mean, Zander, Barkley had a history of injuries. You signed him, did you not? He had 3 knee injuries in the last 5 years.
I think he fit the puzzle.
And he both is 28.
Yeah, I mean, they signed Saquon to be a big part of the team. I don't know if like Alexander, just with where he is and what time of the year it is, this isn't that type of signing. It's not like it was a start of free agency and Alexander was looking for his next team and he got a big
cap casualty.
Yeah, he was a cap casualty late. Most teams already have cap allocated. Philly would be looking at a 1-year deal max. Like, you're not looking to pick up a contract or pay him big money to make him a part of the team for the future. At least I don't think so. So I think that kind of lessens it a little bit, but I don't see it, dude. I don't see it, but I do think he'd be a good addition if he was willing to play the zone.
How about this? So here's your base: Alexander, Q, Reed, and Cooper. 2 safeties, 2 corners. That's your base. How you feel about that? Tell you what, I feel a lot better. I'll tell you this, man. That guy goes to Baltimore, and he's on the other side of Humphrey. That means you got Humphrey, you got Alexander, you got Kyle Hamilton, you got Malachi Starks. That's some secondary, dude, in Baltimore. Now, like you said, I'm signing that guy to a 1-year contract. How about this one, too, Zander?
Baltimore's missing the clutch quarterback.
Hey, he's got to win. No question about it. He's got to win in this. He's got to win in the second. He's got to win in the second season. Yeah, he absolutely does, man. I mean,
you can't say that about Mr. Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I know.
He's got the defense. Well, he gets the job done.
I know, man. I know the greatness of Jalen.
Acknowledge it. Acknowledge it.
Acknowledge what?
That he gets the job
done. Acknowledge what?
That he got the job done.
In the Super Bowl, yeah.
No. With the team.
No. No, he was, like I said, he was a mail carrier all year.
No,
This guy was carrying the mail.
Yeah,
Like, or he was he was like Bobby Boucher, like out there. He was Bobby Boucher during the regular season. He got in the Super Bowl. He turned down from going from Clark Kent to Superman.
No, stop it. Stop it, man.
Okay, well, here.
Lamar Jackson. This dude's got a 2,000-yard rusher. He's got a top defense, got a great coach, great organization.
You want to hear this?
What happened?
You want to hear this? Lamar Jackson's going to the Hall of Fame if he never wins a Super Bowl or not.
Yeah, well, that's great. There you go. Here we go again with the statistician.
No.
Love stats.
I'm
that's all you care about.
No, I'm talking about accomplishments, not stats. I'm talking about accomplishments. Being a Super Bowl MVP is a hell of an accomplishment. Being an NFL MVP is a hell of an accomplishment. That's not a stat, dude. That's playing great for 6 months. Okay? That's consistently playing great. Now,
except just when the lights got bright, it's just time to hang up.
Thank God that kid's got a great team.
You tie those cleats together.
Okay.
You know when you were a kid, you used to walk by like the phone line and have like a pair of cleats on them. That's Lamar's cleats when the playoffs come.
I got 2 questions for you. Very simple. Because I'm a simple man. Okay? And I'm not a hyperbolic kind of guy. What's the biggest weakness, in your opinion, going into the final OTA and coming out of the final OTA? What's the biggest weakness on the offense?
On the offense, right guard.
Oh, my God.
You walked into that one, Big Show.
Right guard.
We don't know who it's going to be right now. How could that not be the biggest?
Oh, wait. That's the biggest issue on the offense is right guard.
Well, it depends what the offense looks like this year. You might have to.
So if the right guard doesn't play well, the team goes to shit.
Might have to come back out of his shell. If defenses are slowing Saquon down this year.
Yeah. I'm just curious here. So you think it's
you think it's a weak? I don't think it's a weakness. I think last year was easy. They dominated their way to a Super Bowl. Why would they ever go to the passing game when their running game's dominating and they have the best defense in the league? Only a dumbass who cares about stats only would want.
I asked you what? No. You're adding more dialogue. I'm just asking a simple question here. What's the biggest weakness going into the final OTA as you get ready for training camp? On offense, what's the biggest weakness?
Well, you do have a question at that right guard, and Mekhi Becton was great in the run game.
Folks.
Well, that's the truth. We had a great running attack last year, Sills, and you lost Mekhi Becton. That's a real thing. Mekhi Becton was phenomenal in the run game last year.
So you don't think the passing game is a problem?
I mean, are they going to try and improve it? Yes. Was it a problem? No.
Prove it how? That's my question. Like, what does that mean when you say prove it? Because, again, you're right, Zander. Am I expecting them to go from 19 or 20 passes to 38? No. You'd be an animal. You'd be an absolute asshole not to go into that room.
I think it's a 20% shift from running to passing this year. 20% more passes. So if Hurts had 20 attempts a game, he has 25 this year. If he had 25 last year, he has 29, 30 this year.
What does that mean? What does that look like? Is that more tight ends, more screens?
I think maybe a little bit more tight ends. I think just an overall more usage rate in the passing game. You're going to have to get a little bit away from just the go routes with AJ Brown, get a little bit, of guys across the middle. I'd like to see more slants, dude. AJ Brown's like the best slant corner or wide receiver in football. And I never felt like they used that enough. So little things like that, but I don't think that there's an overall indictment on where it is right now. I do think it's going to increase. And if it increases, I think you're going to see it close to a 22S Jalen Hurts that puts him back in the MVP conversation, because as much as we all love Hurts, he won't be in an MVP conversation playing the offense that we played last year. It just doesn't call for him for that. That's why Saquon Barkley was in the conversation. So if he is going to get back to that MVP form, that's what it would look like. But I'm not overly concerned about it. I do think, though, naturally it's gonna go back toward passing a little bit, just because teams are gonna prep for Saquon.
How about more over the middle of the field? You think that's going to be more of a target where, and again, Zander, maybe it's just moving the passing game around a little bit. How about this too? You ever wonder why they don't move AJ around? Is that an AJ thing, or is that an offensive mindset thing that
Yeah.
If you've got such a, they never flip wideouts. Like a
Well,
lot
that
of,
might be a quarterback thing.
oh,
Like, well, flipping sides is one thing, which they have done. But what about putting AJ in the slot like Dallas
that's
does?
what
with
I'm
CD?
saying. It gets
I
less
don't see
ability.
that. I think it's more of a quarterback thing. And I don't think it's a knock. I just think it's a preference that Jalen doesn't prefer the middle of the field. He doesn't find the slot receivers often. He's a scramble guy. Jalen is a moving playmaker quarterback. We're never going to turn him into, and anybody that wants to turn him into that, not that, is going to be upset. He is a mobile playmaker. So he thrives in playmaking down the sidelines and outside the hash marks. He does throw the ball over the middle occasionally, but they're not going to put A.J. Brown over in there. At least I don't think so. I think it'd be effective, but maybe not with the Jalen Hurts style of play. You know what I mean? He plays the game outside the numbers a little bit and makes a lot of plays out there. And by the way, the one thing I love that John always says is you don't want to take that away, right?
No.
Like you want him to improve at other things, but you don't want to take away his sword, his best attribute, which is playmaking when plays break down. So how do you gauge building on that while also working in other parts of the offense? I think that's probably the reason they don't move A.J. Brown inside, but I wouldn't be opposed to it. I don't know if they would do it or not. We'll see. Maybe Kevin Petullo has a trick up his sleeve.
I mean, they always talk about versatility on the defensive side, moving guys like Zach Bond around and doing all kinds of crazy things with Zach and talking about Cooper DeJean and all that. To me, you have such great players out there on the Y and Z. Why not move? Try to find the mismatches. If the mismatch is in the middle of the field, we'll put AJ more in the slot. Don't leave him out there like that. Now, again, they won the Super Bowl. You always have to go back to that and underscore that, Zander. You go back to the style of what they did. You don't want to start doing stupid shit where you're out thinking and overcooking it. You know what I mean? You don't want to go crazy. But like you say, you want to evolve it, right?
Yeah. I think naturally it's going to evolve, right? And I think the team will allow the flow of the season to dictate that in a way. Just like last year, it was dictated that they became a running football team. All right. The defenses were figuring out how to slow them down in the passing game. They couldn't quite get it working. They were missing A.J. Brown for 3 of those games, which in hindsight is why it was an overreaction. But once the running game worked so good, they never pulled off it. Even with A.J. Brown bitching, even Devontae Smith made a remark, we're not passing the ball well right now. They never moved off it because they didn't need to. They simply were dominating teams. Actually, the only time that they did move off it, it felt like it was manufactured, and that was the Pittsburgh game when everybody – remember, that was the week after A.J. said the thing to the media. Everybody went nuts. And then after the game, Jalen showed up in his Kango hat and said, "Is that what you guys wanted to see?" So it even felt manufactured, but it did show that they can do it. Now, this year, I think it's going to be the opposite. I think it's going to call for them to go back to passing just because they're going to load the box and force Jalen to beat them, and Jalen can beat them, just like he did in the Super Bowl last year.
This is what and where I'll go with Hurts. And you tell me if you agree or disagree. One of the things, if you go back, and I occasionally go back and watch YouTube highlights of particular games, don't you think he's much better in up-tempo? Like when they go quick tempo, man, they fucking go right down the field. They keep that same personnel they have on the other side on defense. Like they did it in the Ravens game. They did it in the Washington game. They did it in the Ravens. They did it Steeler game. And they did it in the NFC Championship game. When they go quicker and up tempo, he seems to be more fluid in the passing game.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I hear them talking about how well he looks now. Yeah, okay, that's great. But what does that mean when it comes to a game plan? Does that mean they're going to implement it more in the game plan because he looks good in helmets and shorts? So, I'm looking, that's great. But what does that entail? I don't think they're going to tell us or show us. I hear Nick's going to talk tomorrow. Nick's not going to say shit. Vic, he'll say shit. Now, this won't. All right, let me go to the other side of the ball. Before I ask you about the defense, don't you think moving Cooper DeJean around to safety, to nickel, and potentially to corner, is that awesome for the player, or is that more of an indictment on who you have on the roster? Which is it?
It's both. That's the truth. It's both. I mean, you have a guy that you trust so much that you feel like he can be a safeguard for you at every different position in the secondary, while at the same time, you feel like you might need that player because you're not sure enough at the other positions. I think it's a little bit of both, but I also think there is some kind of business as usual in the NFL here. Like, you're always going to have turnover on NFL teams. You know what I mean? Like, there's always going to be a period, and this is every team in the league, where one position you're counting on a guy, or you're hoping a guy, or you're looking forward to a guy proving it, and a guy who hasn't proven it yet. Either a draft pick, a new guy, a new starter, a third rounder, whatever the case might be. So that's where we are right now in some of those positions. And, you know, that's both a bad thing, but it's also a good thing. I mean, Kelee Ringo could turn out well. You know, you could have went in at this time last year. We could have said, "Oh man, we're screwed at cornerback. We have 2 rookies that are going to play." You know, that you're not going to, they might be good. You're not going to win a Super Bowl with 2 rookies. And we probably wouldn't have been far off saying that, but it did work out. Now, it's also the possibility it could not work out, but because you have Cooper DeJean, it gives you a little bit of a safety net, a little bit of a blanket, and then it might allow Vic Sills to be more versatile. You know what I mean? Different looks, different coverages, different things require different players. And if you have more versatile players, kind of a theme we've talked about this offseason, it allows you to get creative and get the best guys on the field for each different situation.
How do you feel about that comment you just made when you say he could be great, Kelee Ringo, when the first 4 weeks you got Dak, Mahomes, Stafford, and Mayfield?
Yeah, I don't feel confident in that one. I'm not. The thing with Kelee with me is it's a literal wait and see. I'm not trying to make a proclamation that I
get it.
Think the player is out.
It's not a rip.
Yeah, it's not a rip. It's just but like even Quinyon in last year, like I had promised. Like I felt like even if you told me, "Hey, Zander, he hasn't done it yet," I was like, I think he's going to do it. With Kelee, I got to see it. I can't go into the season with Kelee Ringo is going to be great. Like it's a wait and see thing on him for me. And the same thing kind of goes with Makuba. Now, I do think Makuba would be a little bit better, or at least be a little bit more prepared year one, but he's undersized. That's going to be an interesting one. Kelee Ringo, definitely in the wait and see camp, Sills. I don't really know what to make of it. The one thing I do know is he was a phenomenal college player when he did get up to speed in college. Does the skill set translate to the NFL? Possibly. We'll see.
Didn't you feel this, though, after the Green Bay game in Brazil? You went like this about Q. That kid can play. I mean, now it's going to be, we wanted to see it on a week-to-week basis. But didn't you see it out? Because I thought he was great in that ball game. And then he got better and better and better. And before you know it, nobody was getting touchdowns on him. Nobody was beating him. And you started seeing the guy. You saw it right away. A year ago, I mean, I keep harkening back to this here, Hoss. If he was so good, why didn't he play over Isaiah?
I'm with you on that. Now, people say, you know, it wasn't the right role for him. They was using him. I don't know. I'm with you on that. If the guy's good, put him out there. I mean, Slay missed damn near half the year. Was the guy good enough to play or not? He wasn't, clearly. So I take that more like you took it with Isaiah Rodgers playing above him. But, yeah, I mean, and that's the thing with him is Vic does know a little bit more. Like Makuba, Vic could be like, let me see a little more. Like Vic knows a little bit what he has in Ringo. He's seen him at practice for a year. He's played with them, you know, for a year. They went through the season together. He watched them on special teams. Vic knows his players. I mean, so I think Vic knows, but we'll see what they end up doing. I think that's why Vic also made the comment though about Cooper. You know, maybe a little bit of a, I'm not sold on you yet, and you should be working your ass off to go and earn that job, Kelee. You know what I mean? Showing him that Vic has ideas and options if he needs to go a different route.
Who has to have a huge year, in your opinion, for that Eagle team to be a top 5 unit? Cooper, Jalen Carter, or Zach Bond?
All three. I mean, so something that we talked about and that we debated about this offseason was when you said you got rid of damn near half of your defense that was number 1 in the NFL, and I said to you, we're going to be okay. Well, part of me saying that means the young guys who are good and ascending, they have to continue to ascend. If they don't ascend, we're at a stalemate and we're going the other direction. And as soon as you're not going this way, you're going this way. And that means you're dying and getting worse. So Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, every single guy sub 26 on that team that's ascending player must take a step forward this year to make up for the losses of the guys that they have lost.
Nolan Smith and Jordan Davis have to show up, right? They have to take a step forward for them to be a top 5 defense.
Nolan Smith needs to be a beast this year. And I think the biggest one, Sills, is still Jalen Carter. Because while I don't worry at all about him being a good player, that's not my point. It's this defense can thrive, and everybody else's job becomes easier the more dominant that player becomes. You hear a guy like Jeremiah Trotter, obviously an Eagle legend on the radio saying, I've heard he doesn't really know how to play the position yet. That's not a knock. That shows you this guy is so effing talented. He moves players and dominates games without really having his feet under him yet. So take that next technical step and become dominant every play. I think that helps Ajomo, helps Nolan on the edge, helps Jordan Davis, helps Jalix Hunt, helps your linebackers, whoever's playing next to Zach Bond. So I think he really has to continue to dominate at the front, and that'll really help the rest of your defense. And the other guy still is Zach Bond, man. I mean, Zach Bond, it would be fair for a non-Philadelphia fan to say, well, let me see it with Zach Bond. That was 1 year wonder. Yeah, it's 1 year. Right now, we're Philly. Now, most of us in the chat, me, are Philly fans. So we're going to say Zach Bond's going to be great. We watched him all year long. And I agree. I mean, I watched too much of that guy being good to think he wouldn't be good. But he does have to continue to do it, and continuing to do it can sometimes be harder than doing it first. So let's see what he can do, too. He's got to play at a very high level this year. One of the very few win takes by RC3. Yeah. Dude, if he's Fred Warner, your defense is set for the next 5 years. Yep. We're good. Now, the only reason, Zander, that I'm not going to call him a one-year wonder, I saw it every week for 17 consecutive weeks in a regular season. That guy showed up every fucking week, and he was so good dude, right? Was he not? Name me another guy on the football team. Would it not go like this? The 2 most consistent football players on your football team a year ago were Zach Bond and Saquon Barkley. Yeah, I agree with that. Every week, right? Every week. You could probably throw some of the offensive linemen in there, but I agree with you. I agree with you. Like Mulata, you could probably – Jordan, it's hard to clump them all together, but yes. Those 2 guys, and you can make the argument, right, that Zach Bond played from week 1 all the way until week 20, I think it is. Remember after we played, we were like, holy shit, where did this guy come from? Basically said there's no way he keeps this up all year. No way. Yeah. We were all saying, me and John were going like this. Nobody's getting 18 tackles after the first week. And he played like that every game. What was that stat you said about the Chiefs not getting across the 50-yard line? No, they're not till their 10th drive, Sills. Man. Think about that, dude. You go 9 straight drives. Mahomes and Andy Reid. And you can't get past midfield? That's ridiculous. Dude, that's like, Sills, that's like, for anybody that watched like competitive high school football, and every once in a while, the really good team in the state will play like a really shitty team, and it's like 40-0 at halftime, and the other team just shouldn't be on the same. Like, that's what that – I've never thought in professional football, let alone a guy who's going to be one of the GOATs in Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, they couldn't get past a 50? I mean, dude, that's like, Miami. That's like holding Michael Jordan to no points in the first. That's the 87 Hurricanes versus whoever the worst team on your schedule was that year. I mean, that's what that was. Man, like holding Jordan to no points in the first half of the finals. Yeah, it's just crazy. That's nuts, dude. So what do you think is the biggest weakness on the defense heading into the final minicamp, mandatory tomorrow? We'll have all your coverage too, by the way, with the great John McMullen. And we get ready for training camp probably July 21st. I think that's probably because of that Thursday night game. What do you think? What's your biggest concern with that defense right now? So I think my biggest concern is edge rusher because of this. I don't know what type of players they have there in terms of depth, and even the starters have question marks. With the secondary, I feel like there's at least more depth there. Now, maybe they stink, but I do feel like there's more bodies. Like, Sills, let me run you a scenario right now. If Nolan Smith got hurt, you're looking at Jalix Hunt, Josh Uche, Ojulari, and that's it. and Patrick Johnson.
Very limited.
That is like, and here's the thing. Everybody's going to say, oh, don't say what if an injury. And I agree. I don't like to play that game either. But last year, Brandon Graham got hurt. Last year, Bryce Huff got hurt. Last year, Nolan Smith got hurt. So 3 of our edge rushers sustained an injury last year. This isn't uncommon for that position to get injured, at least beat up throughout the year to some extent. So my biggest concern is that because, dude, if you got one issue there, you're screwed, I think. Now, even if Jalen Hunt's a great player, like I just said, Nolan Smith goes down or Jalen goes down, now you're relying on legitimate one-year Temu signings to try and get home and keep your Vic Fangio defense humming. I don't know about that. You know, I feel better about Vic with the versatility of Coop and Quignon and some of the guys he has back there. Even Reed, you know, that's 3 guys I'm pretty confident in. You know, the other guys can fill in the cracks. So I think it's going to be edge rusher.
Here, you know what? I'm going to give you multiple because I'm going to cheat here on my own question. I'm not concerned about edge and pressure. I'm concerned about edge and setting the edge. You understand what I mean? Can you keep the defense integrity like you did a year ago? Because, Zander, you weren't great pass rushers. You were good pass rushers. But what you were really good at was setting the edge. Folks, you know what Zander said to me one time? I think it was in the first 3 weeks. You went like this. Alex Hunt's a liability. You see him getting washed down into the pile. He's creating all this edge out there. They put Brandon Graham's ass in there, and that shut that fucking shit down. I mean, all of a sudden, that thing kept...
Are you sticking a bad Alex Hunt take on me? I don't recall saying this.
No. I'm talking Huff, I meant. I'm sorry.
Huff. I was going to say. I don't think I ever doubted you.
Yeah.
Huff. That makes more sense.
I don't even think he played in the beginning of the season.
No, he didn't. Alex didn't play early. It was Huff.
It was Huff.
Yeah.
Huff was getting washed down into the pile, and he's a liability against the run. And they put Brandon Graham's backside out there. Dude, stop that whole thing. The integrity of the defense improved so much. So to me, it's more about, are these guys going to hold up, setting the edge? Because like you said, dude, is Jalen Hunt going to play the strong side or the weak side when it comes to edge? If he's playing the strong side, that means he's taking on tight ends. Is that guy going to be able to hold up for 17 weeks versus a tight end and the best tackle in the game? That's a big ask. You're talking about, again, the Cowboys have a good tackle. Kansas City, the Rams, they don't really. The Bucs have a great one. You're going to be playing on the strong side which means you got tight end and you got tackle. That means you got to take on double teams and setting the edge out there.
Yeah.
You think that guy's going to hold up for 17 weeks?
That's a big ask. It's a big ask. It's a big question. It's a fair question. I think Jalix is built to hold up. I don't know about Nolan. I mean, that's the toughest thing about Nolan right now is he plays his best football at the end of the year.
I'd play him on the weak side where he's open space.
So he gets less wear and tear?
Yeah. And you utilize that 4-4.
Right. Yeah, I think that could be
guy over there.
I mean, the other thing that would make this a lot easier is if they did have a couple of guys that were competent behind them. I mean, right now it's hard to project anything because you're like, I have no idea what Uche and Ojala are going to be. Like if you get, for example, if one of those guys is decent or Patrick Johnson or somebody plays the edge pretty well, or maybe even Jahad Campbell comes in and is a good player, I think it gives you a little bit more of a leeway to be able to get creative with those players and put them in the right positions to succeed. Right now, I don't know who they have. I don't think they know who they have. So there's a lot of question marks at that edge.
How do you feel about the corner play and the depth of the cornerback position? Like, let's just say it's Keeley, and say you get a couple nicked up injuries like you did with Slay. Who's your corners?
Yeah. I mean, you do have some depth there. You have Adoree Jackson, Keely Ringo. You have Eli Ricks as a guy who did play a couple of years ago, if you remember that, when we were thinner at the cornerback spot. So there's more dudes there.
You think they're lighter in depth this year than they were a year ago?
It feels like they are. Now, they got a lot of bodies, but that doesn't mean you have depth. Now, there are a lot of sleeper players. Like, I'm not saying that they're all going to work out, but maybe there's a guy that comes in from camp like last year, Isaiah Rodgers. You know what I mean? Like he kind of came. Remember, he was suspended. We weren't really sure. He turned into a contributor on the team. You know, who is that this year on that defense? Maybe Adoree Jackson is a pretty damn good player. You know, and that makes you feel much better about having Quinyon, Coop, Adoree, Reed, Blankenship. Maybe that makes your life easier. So I could see that, but yeah, we got a lot of questions, man. You're not wrong about that. Doesn't feel like the depth is there right now.
We will go to the super chats here in a second. Please hit the like button. Like, how do you feel about the unit overall? I mean, I see a guy in here.
It's not going to be the same type of season.
Defense is scary. I don't feel that defense does not scare me except for Bond, Carter, and maybe Mitchell. Cooper too.
The defense is scary. I wouldn't say it's scary. No, I think
it's confident.
I think the season looks a lot better, different this year.
I think the defense is competent.
Competent. That's a good word. I think better than competent. I think rising. Like a rising top 12 defense where you have so many young players that you see so many flashes of greatness, but it might not be realized every single play to play. You know, because you just have so many young guys, so many guys still learning the league, learning how to play the position, whatever the case might be. So that's how I feel about it. But I do feel like it's going to be different than last year. Like, I don't think – now, again, we could have said this last year and we would have been dead wrong. I don't think you're going to have the number one defense in the NFL again, which is obviously a big feather in anyone's cap who's trying to go and win a Super Bowl. I don't think you're going to have that. Maybe you do, but I don't think so. Which means Jalen and the offense have to play better.
Let me say this to you, man. If Vic repeats as number one, all right, I'm going to make a campaign for him to be a Hall of Famer right now.
Yeah.
Okay. If that guy ends up doing that shit there. Hey, by the way, before we get into before we do some of the supers, by the way, please hit the like button. What'd you make of the NHL finals?
Oh my gosh, dude. Games tonight. Game is tonight. Game 3 tonight. Back in Florida. Dude, I love the NHL playoffs. I really do.
And the ice is slower because it's hotter.
Last week I was saying something. I forget it was on Zander time or something. I was saying something about Connor McDavid. But all right, if anybody's not a hockey fan or anybody isn't used to watching the game, or just turn on Connor McDavid. That guy is legitimately maybe the greatest hockey player I've ever watched play the game of hockey.
Better than Crosby?
Yeah. Now Crosby.
Wow.
See, so this is what I likened him to. And you could maybe someone would make an argument Crosby's better. Crosby's obviously a historic player, going to the Hall of Fame, everything like that. But I liken McDavid to this generation of that player, and I think he's the only one in the league. Do you remember now growing up for me, like it was Ovechkin and Crosby, right? Like those were the two guys, and it got to a point when Ovechkin was going for the cup a couple years ago, whenever that was, 2020 or 21, you know, hockey fans everywhere like wanted Ovechkin to win because they knew how good he was and how much he deserved to have a cup. That's what McDavid is to me. He's so good of a hockey player. He needs to have a cup. He will have a cup. And I think his time is going to be right now. But just watching him play, dude, is legitimately insane. It's insane watching him play.
I'm going to give you something here. So I talked to Phil Esposito the other day. You know what he said about Connor McDavid?
What's that?
I said, how good is he? He goes, he's the best handler of the puck I've ever seen. I go, including Gretzky? He said, yes. And I go, wow. I go, why? He goes, you see his stick? He has a big face. Remember something. Esposito scored over 700 goals in his career. Right. When he retired, he was second all time. So, I mean, he's like, he handles the puck so it doesn't wobble out there. And he said he is just a great handler of puck. All things, too. Is it ironic he lands in Edmonton where they had Messier and they had Wayne Gretzky?
Yep.
Now, remember something in this game tonight. The ice is not going to be as great as it is up in Edmonton because there's more humidity, which means this. Dude, these guys in the third are going to be dragging their ass.
Well, dude, I'll tell you this, too.
It's more skating. You know when you don't have good ice, Sander? It's tough.
100%. It also affects the goalies too. I was a goalie. It's a big effect on the goalies. But you know, the biggest thing I see with McDavid, his stick handling is phenomenal. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you saw the assist on Saturday? What was it, Friday night? I mean, the guy, toe drags it back, boom, slides it perfectly, no look. I mean, the guy's just insane. But watching him skate, Sills, like the guy gets on the ice. If you get caught watching it, if you're on defense and you take 1 second, and that goal I just said was a perfect example of it because the goalie got caught watching, you're done. He is so fast. He takes one stride and just explodes up. I've never seen a guy as fast as him in my life. It's their entire power play. They drop the ball, drop the puck off at the blue line. McDavid takes it, goes by everybody. I mean, it's unreal watching him skate. He was born to be on hockey skates, dude. That's the best way I can describe it. Born to be on skates.
Last one here for you. Cooper's better than Q, yeah?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's got a more versatile skill set.
And both could be all pros.
Both could be. Do you think Quignon would thrive if he was asked to be more of a man corner?
I'm sorry?
Do you think Quignon would still be would thrive if he was asked to be a man coverage corner?
I think it would have been a tougher season for him. Because and a learning season. Not that
it definitely would have been tougher, but do you think he has the skill set to do it?
Yeah, because you know what? You could see by the way he uses his hands.
Yeah, I agree.
And you could see by the way he moves, and he's got
great. Remember that interception he had on Scary Terry?
Yeah.
Scary Terry's like the opposite of scary.
The 10th best receiver in pro football.
Who's he scaring? He's like the scarecrow at the first grade art museum.
He's got a great.
Scary
and remember, Devontae's like the 18th.
No,
okay, so yeah, like the 18th. All right,
worst take of the year with that.
Yeah, he did play man in college, Leon. He did. He also
Zeal. What's up, Zeal? Can you imagine if the mainstream media shilled for hockey the same way they do for soccer and women's basketball? Whew.
Wow.
It'd be a lot bigger, Zeal, because it's actually so entertaining. I mean,
I've never seen anything like it. I mean, JJ Watt was even like commenting on it during the game. He's like, this thing never, ever doesn't deliver.
It's so true, especially the playoffs.
Watching the NBA Finals, the lowest rated NBA Game 1 final since 1988.
Is that right? Because I thought the storyline was okay coming into the series, but I've been pretty underwhelmed. I mean, Game 1 was pretty good in the NBA, but last night was a little bit of a snooze fest.
1988, the worst ratings since they've been keeping ratings for the finals. Dude, nobody cares. Like you said, if you
were niche though, man, hockey's just niche. I don't know why. And here's what I would advise for this for anybody that's a sports fan.
Because it's a Canadian sport.
Well, it's a Canadian sport, but it's also, I think it's just the nature of the game. It's harder for the average American
harder to watch the puck.
Yeah, but it's also harder for the average American kid to come across the game of hockey, right? Like you go outside in any schoolyard in the country, right? For first graders, they're playing football or basketball at recess.
Yep.
That's what they're doing, So I think it's just harder. It's a niche sport, but I'd recommend this for anybody. Anybody that's a sports fan, and you might be tired of us talking about hockey, but I would recommend this. Go to a hockey game in person. And sit as close as you can. You can get a cheap ticket to many games in Philly, wherever you are. If you're there, I think you'd have a much different perspective on the game than if you watch on TV. It's one of the best sports to attend in person. It really brings you up close to it.
They're the greatest skaters in the world.
And you're mesmerized by them. So I would recommend every sports fan because I think they would enjoy it. Now I was a Rangers fan growing up, and you go to Madison Square Garden, that place is unfreaking believable. Just go to a game in person. I think you'd really like it. I really do. I think you'd like it.
Zander, how about this? Would you be shocked if I told you my wife's been to 65 NHL games?
Wow.
65 or more NHL games.
Yeah.
And I might be cutting her short because I know she's been to more NHL games than she's been
Tampa games?
Tampa games. Tampa and Panther games.
Tampa, man.
I was doing radio down there.
When they had like Martin St. Louis, Vinny LeCavalier, that was a great
just
team.
got Stamkos too.
Yep, Steven Stamkos.
Okay, they got those guys. Yep.
Leon says, more likely to get defensive player in the year in 25, Coop or Jalen Carter? Probably Carter.
Carter. Absolutely.
He's got to be a game wrecker, though.
For him to be the defensive player of the year.
He needs more stats. Let's be real. It's a stats award. More so. Not entirely, but you have to get some to be in the convo. You can't just have Philly see you dominating every week and nobody talks about you nationally.
See, he's got to be around 8 sacks, 50 tackles, and that defense has to be in the top 5 for him to win it.
I agree.
If that's the case, he wins it.
Cooper would be a big ass too, but he does have the skill set. Kyle says, I haven't seen a more boring team in a Super Bowl since my high school team run 3 QB sneaks in the 10.
Look at Kyle. You've been Sileo-wise. You finally have
He's
it.
talking about the Chiefs.
Oh, the Chiefs? Oh, my bad. Excuse me, Kyle. Terrible take. Terrible.
What do you mean they got blown out?
Hey, Kyle, I couldn't believe they got murdered like that.
Oh, I could.
I just could not believe
Team, you
that.
doubted all year long, did the ass whipping. Christopher Michael, been saying to bring in pass rush. Bring Trey Hendrickson in.
No way.
Mentioned.
I have no interest.
Christopher, here's the problem with Trey, right? Super expensive, one, but does he even fit what the Eagles want? Like, he's a great sack guy, but look at what they did last year. They were the #1 overall defense, and Josh Sweat was their leading sack guy with 8.5. Like, I don't think that's the skill set player they're looking for. Now, Trey does do everything well, so all I can remember, though, is Fred Johnson giving him the business, and that's tough for me to move on and pay $35 million to, but hey, I know it's just one game.
Let me take a look at something here. Let me do this here. And I get asked this question all the time, Zander. What about Trey Hendrickson? He's cheaper. Go down that lane and go down and get him. But I look at that guy, man, and I'm like, what were the Bengals ranked against the run last year? Can somebody tell me what they were ranked against the rush? Because I don't. Here we go. Okay, so rush defense a year ago. Here we go. Here's total defense. The Bengals were 25th. Then pass defense, the Bengals were, what were they? The Bengals were 21. Rush defense, they were 19th. Are you going to pay $30 million for a guy who had zero impact on his defense overall? I mean,
that's what I mean. He doesn't fit what the Eagles want.
I mean, I don't see. So he can rush the passer.
Yeah, okay. That's what I mean. We thrived last year without having an exceptional pass rusher.
That's my case. I'm going to stick to it.
You said that a while ago, and I've been sticking with that. Gabe says, what Super Bowl player didn't have a great team? Shit take by Sills.
What Super Bowl player didn't have a great team?
I'm not sure what by Sills, he says.
What's this? I'm not sure what you're talking about.
I don't know what he's saying. I just
don't either. I have no idea what the fuck he's talking about. So here we go. Here's another one. How much did Howie bring in Sproles and Barwin to the office to help his football IQ and assessing skills? Okay. All right. Did you send that thing off to
Wait.
Zander, did you send that? Yeah, okay.
What are you talking about? Did I send it? When have I ever not sent it? I got that. Brian Pumper says, we don't need anybody. Line up my 7th heaven in Sydney. Let's enjoy the ride, fellas. We don't need another goofball like banana pudding at corner.
Yeah. Come on, man. Brian.
Why is Brian Pumper so optimistic on Keely Ringo?
I don't get it. I don't see it. Okay.
The guy was also down on Jalen Hurts, who was a Super Bowl MVP, so you can't trust that guy.
You got to put him in the top 5, man.
Brent says, Zander and Sills, can you tell me which #1 receiver performed well against Q? Please don't say it's a zone. When Q went down in the Rams game, you saw which side.
It is the zone. It is the zone. It was the unit. It was.
He's right though. When Q went down in that game, they attacked him. They attacked that side of the field.
Okay, I mean, you play zone corner.
Yeah, I mean, Prince, you can't just because they. I mean, he did really good in the zone, but you can't really. I mean, he was his own corner.
I mean, he's not a man corner.
But to answer his question, which #1 receiver performed well against Q? None.
I don't think any. I mean, I don't remember any wide. Was there any wide receiver at any time a year ago had a good game against that
lockdown?
Oh, Keely Ringo. I can't wait. Hey, you know what'll make for a good season? If Keely Ringo is your starting corner. That will make for an entertaining season. Oh, boy. Oh, my God. I can't wait to see. Oh, my God. You know what tomorrow is? Tomorrow is content heaven. You know why? Because Nick Chiriani's talking tomorrow. Holy cow, I can't wait.
Only Sileo could get content out of that dude.
Oh,
That
no.
dude doesn't give you
Angelo
shit.
coming up can too.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, Angelo could too. Angelo could too.
Okay.
I agree with that. All right, Sills, good show, brother. I think we got all our super chats.
All right. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you very much. Don't forget, freaks, to check in with my boy Big Z. All right.
Thank you, Sills. Later, everybody.
You got it. Make sure you guys hit the like button here. You know, we're going to take a time out before we get our friend Angelo Cataldi on here. Hey, folks, don't forget our good friends at Morgan & Morgan. John Morgan, I believe, was coming on tomorrow. Now, let's read this before we go. We have 2 unproven pass rushers, and 1 is injured and small for DE. We have plenty of picks and how we can make it work. Going to have to make a move. For what, though? An A move, a B move, a C move? I mean, for what? Depth? Dude, Trey Hendrickson, I'm not interested in. It depends on what the money is. That guy's going to want $25 million. They're not going to pay that. That's why the Alexander deal is going to be tough to swallow. That's going to be tough to sign, too, because if he clears free agency, you're going to have a bidding war for him, and it's going to be around $17 million. Okay, I mean, that's a lot of money. So, trade for Walker, they're going to want draft picks, big picks, 3rd, 2nd. He's the number 1 overall pick. All right, let me do this. Our great friends at Morgan & Morgan, John Morgan, folks, he's so proud to be part of our program. And we're so proud to have them here with the show here. They are number 1 in America because they win. We have attorneys coast to coast from Philadelphia to Los Angeles defending families across the country. This is exactly what they do. I told you about that family that got $30 million settlement. And you're talking about a family was initially offered $650K in settlement. They said, no way. Or the family down in Florida got $12 million, and the family was offered $350K. That's what makes Morgan & Morgan special. They go and get what families are deserving of. And by the way, they don't get paid unless you win. Simple as that. Go to forthepeople.com/big sales or pound law 529. That's forthepeople.com/big sales or pound law 529. And do me a favor, you tell them Big Sales sent you.
This is Eric,